Thank you all for joining us today. It's Fairfax County Public Library hosting a program with our partner, Candid Organization. And Susan Sharome is our speaker today, and she will demonstrate this great research tool, Foundation Directory Online. So here's to Susan.
Okay, thank you, Vladimir. Thank you, everybody, for your time and efforts this afternoon. We have a 90-minute session for you called Introduction to Foundation Directory Online. We do have a small enough group, however, for us to really talk about the resources. So I'm going to focus on Foundation Directory Online this afternoon and walk you through the product. I do have PowerPoint slides prepared for you. I think 2 handouts that we're going to send to you after class. But feel free to ask questions about, any of Candid databases. And it's very likely that you can find a free version of our database application tools on one of our many, many websites. So part of my mission today is also to encourage each of you to stay in touch with Candid. We do exist as a nonprofit organization to help you succeed in your work making the world a better place. And Vlad's going to help me check out the chat today. I will remember to pause periodically and check it out. All right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. We are using Zoom today for today's meeting, and I will ask the audience to help me out. If at one point today you are not seeing at home what Susan is talking about, somebody please unmute yourself and just say to me, you're not seeing the slide deck, or you're not seeing the website or the database product that I'm referring to. Because I do tend to go back and forth between PowerPoint slides as well as our websites. So it is Tuesday, April 27th. We have the next 90 minutes with each other for this wonderful session called Introduction to Foundation Directory Online, which is absolutely, one of my most favorite database tools in the world. I use it 5 or 6 days a week to kind of get a better sense of what the philanthropic landscape looks like here in America and abroad. And of course, I also use it to help my library visitors find grants for their work. This session today is being hosted by the Fairfax County Public Library System, specifically a huge shout out to the Tysons Pimmet Regional Library, which is in Falls Church, Virginia. Big shout out to Vladimir Shuta from the Fairfax County Public Library System for hosting the session today and bringing us all together. The team at the Fairfax County Public Library System also works very closely with Candid to build a conversation about philanthropy, nonprofits, and grants on the ground in their areas of Virginia that they serve. They also make available to you Candid's database application tools. So Fairfax County, you've got a really great library system there that makes many, many, many research tools available to the local public. Now, my name is Susan Sharoma. I am one of the librarians at Candid, which was formerly called Foundation Center. These days, I work with our funding information network partners in the northeastern part of the United States. We've got Vladimir, who is the information services librarian. You will get a copy of the slide deck. So, you can contact Vladimir or myself after today's session if you have any questions or have suggestions about future classes. So Vladimir will moderate, And again, my name is Susan Shiroma. I will be carrying the presentation today and handling the questions related to our Candid resources. So, again, part of my job is to introduce you to the work of Candid, formerly Foundation Center and GuideStar, so that you'll have a much better sense of how to ask us for help in your professional lives. So, why Candid? We merged. Foundation Center and GuideStar were two separate nonprofit organizations. Took us about 10 years to merge, but we merged officially on February 1st of 2019. Our boards felt and our teams felt that as one organization, we would be in a much stronger position to serve your needs in the coming years. We merged officially in 2019 and became a new 501c3 nonprofit organization. Together, both of the legacy organizations brought a combined 88 years of expertise and millions of data points to the work of Candid. All right, one of the environmental factors that was, moving us to a merger, very simply put, every year, millions of nonprofits spend trillions of dollars all around the world. Candid finds out where the money comes from, where it goes, and why it matters. I'd like you to think of our data tools as focusing on nonprofits, foundations, and grants. Our data tools are the most comprehensive in the world. So they are very, very useful research tools to help you find external funding for your work as a social sector nonprofit organization. We accomplish our mission these days through research in the field of philanthropy and nonprofits. We collaborate and partner with many, many different types of organizations here in the United States and abroad. And we still put a premium on providing our communities with free training. This is an example of one of the many free training classes that Candid and our Funding Information Network partners are bringing to communities throughout the United States and globally. Candid connects people who want to change the world to the resources you need to do it. And that would be each of us on the call this afternoon. Just as your nonprofit has a vision of how you're making the world a better place, Candid has a vision as well. We envision a social sector capable of tackling the critical challenges and opportunities of our time. Our mission statement is simple. Candid connects people who want to change the world to the resources they need to do it. Now, we have many, many websites. Our work is nearly completely digital these days. So at the bottom of your screen, you will see candid.org, CANDID.org. That is our main website, and it is your portal to all things Candid. However, we have many, many websites that we are constantly creating. Our websites do tend to be topical or subject specific. And I would say, keep an eye out on candid.org, particularly the Explore Issues area. That is where you will see a list of our new websites as we roll them out. And I think literally these days, I would say about once every 3 to 6 months, we're creating a new website to meet the needs of researchers throughout the world. The most recent one is a website called Philanthropy in India, which allows you to access part of our database so that you can do the research on grants going into India, who's getting them, and most importantly, who's giving those grants. Philanthropy in India as a new website also contains and connects you to a tremendous amount of foundation research on the field of philanthropy in India. So that's just like one example of a website that we will roll out to meet critical needs in the world. We are also, as our work is digital, very quickly able to respond to global events. So we are in the midst of COVID year 2. I hope everyone's been safe and well. But last March of 2020, when the world realized we had a global pandemic on our hands, philanthropy stepped up to the plate and began, funding nonprofits as well as communities throughout the world with COVID-19 relief funds. So Candid literally created a COVID-19 pop-up page, which you can access through candid.org. You will click on Explore Issues and then look through the alphabetical list for the Candid 19 pop-up page. That Candid 19 pop-up page is literally going to give you current grants information about these COVID-19 relief funds. It will give you dollar amounts. It will tell you who's getting them and who's giving them. It will also connect you to current news reports on fundraising in a COVID-19 environment and give you the recordings of many of the webinars we've conducted over the last year to help nonprofits raise money in this new environment. One of the coolest things about the COVID-19 pop-up page that I like is that it also gives you access to a data visualization tool we created called Foundation Maps. The version of Foundation Maps that we have on our COVID-19 pop-up page allows you to literally create a map of the geographic area that you are working in, whether it's a city, town, village, congressional district, state, region of the United States, or somewhere else in the world. You can create a map of the area that you are working in and then literally see which nonprofits are getting COVID philanthropy funding and who is giving it. So that COVID-19 pop-up page is definitely a very unique area of our website that you should be looking at periodically this year. If you are raising money for racial equity issues, particularly here in the United States this year, I also encourage you to go to candid.org, click on Explore Issues, and look at our Candid Racial Equity page. We have pulled all of our grants data and research reports into one area of our website, which makes it much more convenient for you to get a bigger picture view on philanthropy's response to racial equity issues. So we do try to respond very quickly to events that occur here in America and abroad. And these specialized websites we create oftentimes fill a gap in your research needs. If you are not seeing something that you're researching in our funding databases, do check out our websites, talk to our online librarians. Perhaps we've created a research tool that you can access digitally that meets your needs. So, again, our work very much is always like a work in progress as we create these web portals and specialized websites. One of the best ways to stay in touch with Candid is to sign up for one or more of our free newsletters. I have a QR code on the screen in front of you and encourage you to think about signing up for our Candid Learning newsletter, which is a newsletter that focuses on our educational resources and training programs. Okay, so we're using Zoom, and I perhaps should not assume this, but I'm gonna guess that everybody is an expert at Zoom at this point. In COVID year 2. For those of you who are new to Zoom as a technology, there is a control panel running across the bottom of your screen. I'd like you to look at it if you wish to unmute yourself and talk to the entire group. Look at the far left-hand side of your control panel. There is an icon that looks like a microphone. You're going to click on it to unmute yourselves. There is also a chat icon. So I will try to pause periodically to check the chat box to see if there are questions coming in through our chat feature. And at this point,
sorry to interrupt, Susan. There's a question about specialized resources from Candid. A special section on poverty.
Poverty. Okay, so poverty is a huge issue. It could be domestic, it could be global. We have some very, very geographically specific websites that will have information on poverty. Particularly, I also believe poverty is one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So we have like if we're working globally, although many U.S. nonprofits have adopted the UN Sustainable Development Goals, you might want to check out how the Sustainable Development Goals website that we created treats poverty as an issue. If you are raising money as a nonprofit, if your mission is to alleviate poverty, you definitely want to be using Foundation Directory Online, which is our main database application tool, to research which grant makers are investing their funds in poverty and for what types of poverty and what types of projects. The database itself will definitely tell you who's investing grants for poverty in every city, town, village, congressional district, county, state here in America, as well as abroad. So the database products that we create are definitely global, and we can track grants going anywhere in the world these days. So we don't have one website that addresses poverty. Poverty as an issue is actually covered by several of our electronic resources. Definitely, we're going to recommend in the context of today's class, which is Introduction to Foundation Directory Online, you will find that our database products that we create that fall under the umbrella of Foundation Directory Online do an excellent job providing you with the philanthropic landscape regarding poverty. Rich, I think you mentioned GuideStar.org earlier in today's session. For those of you who are new to GuideStar.org, that is spelled GuideStar.org. GuideStar.org is a tool that is a candid creation. GuideStar gives you profiles of every single nonprofit organization in America, including all of our U.S. private foundations are profiled in GuideStar.org. You can actually use GuideStar.org. You can run a search on poverty, space in Virginia, poverty in Massachusetts, and identify a group of nonprofits working in the poverty sphere. So GuideStar.org is not a fundraising tool, but it does allow you to identify nonprofits who are working on poverty issues. And it does provide you with a really terrific profile on these nonprofit organizations. These days, if you are a nonprofit manager on the call, you know that you need to do a better job telling your story. And I would highly recommend that you look at GuideStar.org, claim your nonprofit profile, and begin updating your nonprofit profile because you can use GuideStar very successfully to tell your stories to a much greater audience, particularly professional philanthropists and people who are looking to donate funds will always use GuideStar.org to help them out with the research on the nonprofits they are seeking to provide support to. So, hope that, starts in terms of, what we have available to you to focus on poverty issues. All right, so Introduction to Foundation Directory Online. We are talking about database applications this afternoon. We're also talking about libraries that provide you with free access to Foundation Directory Online. And we're not just talking about one database tool this afternoon. We're actually talking about several database applications that you can use to identify foundations who may be potential good supporters of your work. Foundation Directory Online as a database is a living database. It is updated 7 days a week. It grows larger and larger every single week. as we are able to identify new foundations and other grant-making organizations being created, and as we are able to profile them and add their grants into our system. So think of Foundation Directory Online as several database products that grow larger and larger as each month progresses. At this point, the highest level of access to our tools that you can use is a product called Foundation Directory Online Professional. This month, it's up to 235,000 active grant makers. It's got the descriptions of grants paid out here in America and globally. It's got non-foundation institutional grant makers in it, as well as federal agency grants. So we definitely highly recommend that you work with the team at the Fairfax County Public Library System, if you're in their area of Virginia, to visit one of their libraries to use the Foundation Directory Online Professional product. This is a professional quality fundraising tool, and I am always going to recommend that you use that product first. Particularly in Falls Church, where the Tyson's Pimmet Library is located, when you're on site within the four walls of that library, you can use Foundation Directory Online Professional free of charge. They also provide their local community with access to a second database product known as Grants to Individuals. Grants to Individuals is much tinier than Foundation Directory Online Professional. Foundation Directory Online Professional provides you with the ability to search through 235,000 active grant makers. Grants to Individuals focuses very narrowly on a core group of 10,000 private foundations that cut their grant checks to you and I as individuals. So the people who use Grants to Individuals do tend to be students who are looking for scholarship checks. They tend to be artists, filmmakers, writers, even college professors use Grants to Individuals online to identify grants for their research or for their art. You definitely, artists and filmmakers, highly recommend you start your search for grants with that particular tool. Social workers occasionally use Grants to Individuals to look for charitable grants for their clients, but it is a very small database with 10,000 profiles in it. Now, just a research note here, Foundation Directory Online Professional includes all of the 10,000 foundations in it that are in the Grants to Individuals online database. So yes, when you are using Foundation Directory Online, you can not only search for grants to nonprofit organizations, but you can use that tool to search for grants to individuals. Now, we are in the midst of COVID, so many of our public libraries in America are curbside pickup. You cannot get into the library to spend a couple of hours doing research the way you might have done in previous years. So many of our public library partners who participate in our Funding Information Network Partnership Program have been for over a year now, providing their communities with something remote access to Foundation Directory Online Essential. Now, remote access means you can access these database tools from the comfort and safety of your own home, or if you're back in your office but not back in a library, you should be able to access Foundation Directory Online Essential wherever you are, as long as you have a laptop and access to the internet. So Foundation Directory Essential as a database is not quite as robust as Foundation Directory Online Professional, but it does have all of the search functionality of the professional level edition. However, instead of providing you with a database that's going to have 235,000 active grant makers in it, including the federal government, Foundation Directory Essential focuses on a core group of nearly 140,000 active US-based grant makers. So you can create searches and extract the data. You're going to be using Foundation Directory Online Essential from the safety and comfort of your home to read through those profiles or download them for further research later in the month. So these days, when you are using Foundation Directory Essential, you are literally signing up for a 24-hour day pass using your, let's say, your Yahoo account, using your Gmail account, using your Hotmail accounts. You're signing up for a day pass to use it. Between those day passes, the system will take you to Foundation Directory Quick Start, which is another database that you can use directly from our website. Foundation Directory Quick Start allows you to identify and read through very, very concise foundation profiles based on where the foundation is located. So, biggest tip ever today, when you are using the 24-hour day pass at home to Foundation Directory Essential, I highly recommend you download those full foundation profiles onto your laptops or onto your network drives, so you can actually, take a little bit more time and read through the profiles of these funders. These database systems make it really much easier these days for you to conduct your prospect research. And again, one of the carrots I'm holding up for you today is that these databases literally get larger and larger as each month of 2021 goes by. So the foundation and institutional grant making prospects are there. You're going to give yourself about 4 to 6 months to raise the money from private foundations. They are not, as entities, they are not necessarily quick to say yes and no to the proposals that we send out to them. But you are going to use these products to develop a prospect pipeline so that every month you can begin turning over new prospects. After all, we only have 12 months in a year to raise money, and that is not that much time to diversify your funding income streams. However, again, the database grows larger and larger every month, so this is a good year to begin becoming familiar with the work of Foundation Directory Online. So we have two, again, excellent options for you. There are on-site access points throughout the United States through our Funding Information Network program to Foundation Directory Online Professional. And from the comfort and safety of your homes this year, you can definitely work with the database using the Essential Level addition to it. We have many, many resources to support your grant research. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I have the full URL on the screen ahead, in front of you to the philanthropic response to the COVID-19 as an issue. This is the COVID-19 pop-up page I was referring to earlier. Foundation Directory Online as a research tool is popular enough to have its own blog. I've got the full link to the blog in front of you. So I know, do what I do. Once a month, I will go to the ION FDO blog to take a look at what's there. Now, I'm going to have to assume that many of you are doing a lot of your work from home these days. We have a website that we've actually been supporting for many, many years now that serves as your online fundraising library. That is called Candid Learning. So candid.org is your portal to all things Candid. Candid Learning is a website you can use to self-educate yourself when it comes to fundraising and nonprofit management issues. The URL is learning.candid.org, and I highly encourage you to, when you're on the website, to create your own username and password. By doing that, creating your own username and password to log into learning.candid.org, which, by the way, is free, you can access some of the more, I would say, senior level resources available to you through Candid Learning. You can always get to our online librarians by clicking on the Ask Us feature. So Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., our online librarians are available to have a chat with you on your fundraising questions. Outside of those hours, when you have questions about fundraising and nonprofit management, you're still going to be going to the Ask Us feature on Candid Learning. You will fill out the form, and when we get back into our office the next day, the next work day at 9 a.m., we will start responding to questions that came in overnight or over the weekend. Candid Learning also has a very, very strong focus on training. There is a resources area that has a collaboration hub where you can read through 650, and you can actually search through 650 successful nonprofit collaboration case studies there. There is an ebook program that I highly recommend to you. Now, our ebook program at Candid is free. Anybody can borrow books from us. The difference between Candid's ebook program and the ebook program at the Fairfax County Public Library System in Virginia. First of all, we're much smaller when it comes to the ebooks we acquire, but our ebooks are very, very focused on fundraising as a subject, as well as nonprofit management issues that we are hearing our nonprofit management community is grappling with. So, if you need a textbook on proposal writing or a textbook on how to do a capital campaign, you're going to remember to go to Candid Learning and check out the ebook program and, borrow the book from us. There's a knowledge base area, which has an extensive article collection on containing FAQs, frequently asked questions of what the public is asking us. If you're thinking of starting a nonprofit organization this year, anywhere in the United States or one of our territories, I'm going to highly recommend you check out the nonprofit startup resources by state or by territory. Read through the startup guides before you hire a lawyer to do it for you. Take the nonprofit assessment diagnostic tool to test your knowledge, just to, get a sense of, are you even ready to start a nonprofit organization? And again, all of these resources are free. Proposal writers use Candid Learning to look at sample proposals and sample budgets and sample letter proposals. It's all there on Candid Learning. Now, Foundation Directory Online does have its own YouTube channel. So one of the tips that I can pass along to you is, generally, if you are brand new to these database application tools, I would recommend that you go to YouTube and do the site search feature, type in Foundation Directory Online, find our YouTube channel for this product, and watch a few of the short user videos that we have prepared for you before you dive into the product. Again, this is a very professional fundraising tool, and if you haven't used it in a couple of years, you do need to play a little bit of catch up to see how advanced it has gotten. For those of you who are brand new to fundraising, there's Candid has its own YouTube channel with a collection of all of our free classes on it. There is also a recording of this class on Candid's YouTube channel. And very, very importantly, at the Tysons-Pimmitt Regional Library, which is part of the Fairfax County Public Library System in Virginia, please note the link I have on the screen below for you. There is a special area of their website that you can go to learn about the role that the Tysons-Pimmitt Regional Library plays in philanthropy on the ground in Virginia. They will give you a link to the Remote Access Tool Foundation Directory Online there. So in Fairfax County, that center is called GRTC, the Grants Research and Training Center. These next few screenshots are here. And by the way, if you kind of stare at your screen really closely, there's the URL to get to the library. Again, that's another good reminder there. And it says here, try to search for grants from home. You can access Candid's Foundation Directory Online through Fairfax County Public Library with this link. You're going to click that link from home after you watch the video that they have prepared for you. Sign up for your 24-hour day pass to Foundation Directory Online Essential. I am not sure. I don't think the Tysons-Pimmitt branch is fully open yet. Temporarily, you won't be able to go into the public library in Falls Church to use the professional level edition. But there's a video that you can watch from home on how to use Foundation Directory Online Essential there.
Susan, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt you. There are a couple of questions in the chat.
Great, thank
One
you.
exactly about these videos. There are multiple versions of this similar orientations about FDO. Which one is the most recent and the most up to date? I guess.
Okay, so we have, Deb, we have many, many funding information network partners in the United States and abroad. Many of our funding information network partners are, libraries, some are community foundations, other nonprofit resource centers. Many of Candid's partners have created their own YouTube videos on how to use Foundation Directory Online Essential. I would say these videos do tend to be on point. They are excellent resource tools. Vladimir is recording today's session, so you'll have a current base of information from which you can proceed after today's session. You will also note, and I'm going to note it again, that when we're actually using the database products, you can connect directly to our Candid online librarian through these research tools, and they can provide you with direct on-the-spot resources. Now, like a note about the phrase, the most recent version, every time I teach this class, I do have to look at candid.org, which is our main website. And I have to click on Candid at a glance and look at the Foundation Directory Online area there, just to make sure I've got the current counts of, how many funders the database actually provides to you. Again, the database grows. The search functionalities don't change that much from month to month, but we are each year we are enhancing this product, which is why I spent, a little bit of time pointing out the blog. I normally go to that Eye on FDO blog to see if anything has changed with the system. So there's a couple of things that, one would need to do to make sure that you are aware of all of the changes that Foundation Directory Online is undergoing. But again, the basic search functionalities, from the simple searches to the advanced searches, that's pretty much in place at this point in time, and that will not change from month to month. The other question that came up was about donor advised funds, which are the fastest growing giving vehicle in America these days. Absolutely. I think it was Rich that asked that question. When you're using Foundation Directory Online Professional, that product does a fabulous job of identifying which nonprofits are getting donor advised fund gifts in which geographic areas and for what purpose. That product will give you a full profile of the provider of the donor advised fund, whether coming from a donor advised fund, a community foundation, or from like a major national group like Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch. There are many, many organizations that provide donor advised funds and other types of charitable gifts these days. Yes, the professional level edition will do an excellent job describing the philanthropic landscape for donor advised funds. However, it will not tell you the individual or the family behind that donor advised fund. They are still fairly, private in terms of giving vehicles. When you are at home using Foundation Directory Online Essential, yes, absolutely. You can do an advanced search on Foundation Directory Essential to identify donor advised funds in your community. But the Essential level addition to our database does not have the grant descriptions in it. So it is a little more difficult to research donor-advised funds as a giving vehicle using the Essential Level Edition. So, and then hold me to it, Rich, remind me to do a search for them. So, getting back to the GRTC, Tyson's Pimmet Regional Library, they are a community resource, and it says on their website, the staff is trained. So we do have a certification process that our partners go through to better understand how Foundation Directory Online works. And they are very clearly telling their public that they are providing free access to these research tools. You can actually go to 3 different libraries in the Fairfax County geographic region to use these research tools. Phone numbers were on that screen as well. There is a ton of information on the GRTC's website about how to find grants and how to apply for grants. So I just popped 2 of their FAQs on the screen in front of you. Now, just a real quick overview, please bear with me. We do have to look at some screenshots for that newer product, which is the 24-hour day pass to Foundation Directory Essential. This is what it's going to look like for each of you when you register through the GRTC Center at the Tyson's Pimmet Regional Library in Fairfax County, Virginia. You're going to click that blue link that we saw on their landing page that said, basically click here for home access to Foundation Directory Online Essential. The next screen that pops up for you at home will look like this. Log in or register for your 24-hour Foundation Directory Essential access. So you're going to pop your Yahoo account in here. Maybe you have a Gmail email. Maybe you are on Hotmail or AOL. Maybe you're on your own system. But pop your email into here and click Next. The next screen you see, you have to kind of read it closely. It says, it repeats, log in or register for your 24-hour Foundation Directory Essential access. Please check your email for a confirmation link. So at this point, I used a Yahoo email. I now have to go open to, in this case, it's Yahoo because I used a Yahoo email. I went to Yahoo. This is a screenshot of what the Yahoo email box looks like. Checked my email for a message, found the message from Foundation Directory Online that says to me, I have submitted a registration request for a day pass from, in this case, I used the Queens Library. In your case, it's going to say Fairfax County Public Library System, whichever one of our partners you're obtaining the 24-hour day pass from. But please click on this link to continue with your registration process. This link will be valid for the next 30 minutes. So this link is in blue. You'll click on it. The next screens that open up will be the registration form itself. So, okay, I think I was wrong. I mentioned to you Foundation Directory Online Essential had 140,000 active grant makers in it. Based on this screen, let's drill down a little bit, not from 140,000. We're going to say Foundation Directory Online Essential has 110,000 expanded grant maker profiles in it. Now, you will need to set up, so it's holding my Yahoo account in here. You'll have to create a password for yourself and confirm it. You're going to pop in a first name, a last name. This box says organization name. If you don't want to tell us what organization you are representing, just type in NA for not available. That's N\A for not available. The software will accept that. Our work is global. Our work is international these days. I'm going to suspect today most of us are using this day pass are from the United States. So, select United States. Field of interest, that would be your fundraising research field of interest. It's an A to Z list. If you don't want to tell us that you're interested in arts and culture or scientific research or environmental welfare, you don't have to tell us. just there's a little arrow here. Just use that arrow key, go to the end of the alphabet where the letter U is, and click Unclassified. Most of us do not pop our employer identification numbers into these systems because we cannot remember 9 digits. So, don't feel compelled. This box is not required, but you do need to create a password and confirm it for yourself. Now, please, I'm circling this here. There are 2 little boxes at the end of this form. One says, I agree to these terms and conditions. And normally, as a librarian, before I, click, yeah, I want that password, I always do take a minute or so to click terms and conditions and read through the licensing agreement. So I would recommend when you're filling out these forms, do take a minute or so to click on this blue link here where it says, I agree to these terms and conditions. Take a look at the licensing agreement. By the way, the terms and conditions are also available to you off of the candid.org website. And then you'll, I agree. You don't have to ask us to send you periodic emails on product updates. You can just leave that next box blank. But if you'd like to receive periodic updates from us, by all means, click it. Then you are ready to begin research. You will then click Go to FDO Essential, which is this orange box here, and the system will automatically begin your 24-hour day pass. So in this particular screenshot, my day pass was from Yonkers Public Library, but this screen looks very, very similar to the screen that you would see if you were inside of Tysons Piment Regional Library using the professional level edition. But now I'm at home using the essential level edition, which is kind of right there in the upper left-hand corner telling me what particular product I'm using. If I need help from the Candid online librarians, I'm definitely clicking on chat, which is in the upper right-hand corner, or looking to the far lower right-hand corner for the box that says chat with an expert. If I like to read help files, I'm going to click where it says help here and read through some of the files on how to use this system. But I probably shouldn't have to do that if I have watched 1 or 2 YouTube videos in the past. Now, getting back to Foundation Directory Online Essential, the new Day Pass system, you will please note that when you have signed up for your Day Pass, there will be a purple bar running from left to right across the top of your screen, which tells you how much time you have remaining on your account. So this is a screenshot of a Day Pass that I signed up for on March 27th. Actually on March 26th, because it's telling me my Day Pass expires on March 27th at 10 a.m. Now I can just, by the way, I can log out of my Day Pass and then I can log back in when I'm ready to continue my research in much of the same way as you would do if you were an actual subscriber to this. But you will note, please, that this Day Pass, I'm going to call this a timer, will keep counting down to the point where it gets to be 0. So the system itself will always remind you how much time you have on it. And that bar is going to look like a purple bar to you. The time will change periodically. Now, the enhancement we made to Foundation Directory Online Essential this year is that we're providing you, the public, with your own My FDO work area. So there is a work area up here. It's I'm going to also use the phrase dashboard, where you can save your searches, you can save your prospects, your notes. Some people are very adventurous, and I see them adding their proposals to the My FDO work area. But this is here to give you, as a free user of this tool, a sense of the possibilities. This is actually a much more advanced functionality to Foundation Directory Online Essential, but it's going to help you grow in your practice as a prospect researcher. Certainly if you've used this product before or you've used the professional level edition, we've made searching for grants a lot easier. The back-end software basically does an excellent job these days. finding your prospects for you. This open-ended search box, you're just literally going to tell the computer what you need money for. Ballet school in New York City, orphanages in Nepal, animal shelter in Portland, Maine, food pantries in Dallas, Texas. Just, tell the software what you need money for, click search, and it will pull your prospects together for you. Richard asked that question about donor-advised funds. There may be others on the call who are going to ask me, how do you extract corporate funders from this system? How do you extract family foundations from this system? That is a search that you can use these advanced search features for. So Foundation Directory Online Essential has all of the advanced search features that you would find in the professional level version of this database. And of course, you can, if you're lucky, you have a foundation name, so you'll click search by name or search by person name there. Now, getting back to the My FDO feature, we're going to sail through this really quickly because I want to make sure we have time to actually, do some searches. But My FDO is customized to you. In this case, I'm using Crystal Poppy's account. It's very, very customized. So you can track your prospects in My FDO by adding them to this system. You can save searches, you can tag records. We call this, it is also known as a dashboard because it allows you to look at your work from the perspective of what you say your projects are, who your prospects are. Grant proposals here, you might want to add your contacts to this, or simple tasks as reminders. So, another way when you're logging back into FDO from a short hiatus, you always click My FDO, click dashboard to see where you left off on your work. Now, I think this was an account I set up way at the end of March when I hadn't done any work yet, but this will give you a sense of how your work can be tracked. Grant maker, assessing them, where are they located, number of grant proposals you're sending to them, value of the grant proposals, meaning how much money are you asking for, and your last activity on this system. So in this case, I haven't added anything yet for contacts or grant proposals, so it continues to be basically blank. Now, the other new thing about the Essential Level Edition is, and for those of you who are beginners to prospect research, I think you will like this. When you are reading through those grant maker profiles, in this case, I draw your attention to the top of this profile for the New York Community Trust. Please know, okay, great, they have a website, it's listed here. If you need to know, a little bit about them real quickly, you'll click on those links, but they're one of the handful of foundations that have a website. By the way, why do you need a database product? Because most foundations don't have websites. But pay attention to this question. Is this a good prospect? Assess this grant maker. So we have built a questionnaire into each of these foundation profiles, and I'm on Essential, so we know that at least it's going to have a minimum of 110,000 profiles, but you can actually take this test and let the software walk you through a series of questions to help you analyze whether or not New York Community Trust should be on your A list of prospects, or maybe they end up on your B- list of prospects. Also, if I want to download it, I'm going to click this PDF link. There's a little icon there, and just download the full profile onto my computer. I can also email this full profile for New York Community Trust to one of my colleagues along with my research notes. So if I want to, these profiles tend to be very, very full. This menu icon allows me to skip through certain parts of the profile very, very quickly. So the other way to assess your prospects, if you've added them to your dashboard, we also put the assessment tool straight into the dashboard. And it will walk you through whether or not you're eligible. It's going to walk you through whether or not the subjects that the New York Community Trust funds are subjects that you're working on, geographic focus, population served, support strategies they offer, support strategy that you're looking for. What kind of transaction do you want to have with the New York Community Trust? How to apply? Do you know anybody there? Review and finish. So Again, this assessment tool is a very unique feature that used to only be available to subscribers. Now it is available to people who are using the database free of charge through their local funding information network partners. So we will dive a little deeper now into Foundation Directory Online. I'm going to just stop and pause and check.
Susan, I'm sorry to interrupt you. There was a question in the chat
Good.
about dashboard or whatever you save in your MyFDO account. So will it stay until your next session month?
Yes, it will stay until your next session. Just remember that, just have to remember your email account that you used to sign up for the day pass. So your work in MyFDO, your dashboard is customized and connected to the email account that you used to apply for the day pass to Foundation Directory Essential.
And another question.
So try to remember your passwords. It'll make it easier to get back into the system.
So day pass is it work for calendar month or is it every 30 days? There was another.
It's once a month. Once a month. So 3/25, no, March 26th, I signed up for my first day pass.
Mm-hmm.
Is April 27th, and I was able to get my second day pass today.
So it's 30 days, not calendar month, beginning of next calendar month. Okay, thank you.
So and then in between day passes, if you're still like at home doing research, you will be using Foundation Directory Online Quick Start.
And one more question, sorry for interruption. Yep. Is there a way to narrow down the number of foundations that fit your needs without going into each foundation?
Yeah, absolutely, Sonia. The software will do that for you. You're literally going to type a sentence in telling the software what you need a grant for, and the search results, it'll say, oh, it found 200 foundations for you. You can then use the advanced search features to begin narrowing it down. For instance, these products tend to go back to start in 2003 and they end up in 2021. The software is searching through the grants paid out from each of these funders. Even if a funder paid out a $10 grant to your topic, to your particular region, the software will identify that funder for you. If I don't have a lot of time, to your point, Sonia, how do I narrow the list down without reading through 200 different grant maker profiles? I actually always use the advanced search features. There is what we call a slider bar that allows you to tell the computer that you don't want to go back to 2003. Just set it to maybe only search through foundations and their grants from 2015 through 2021. And in that way, that will assure you that you're only getting a grant maker in your search results if they paid out a grant for your topic from like 2015 through 2021. The other thing about that ability to really drill down your search strategies before you start reading through those profiles, when I'm using the advanced search feature, if my boss has said something like this to me, Susan, I am looking for a number of foundations to give our organization a grant, and I'd like you to identify a foundation if it can cut us a grant check beginning at $100,000. That's a pretty big ask. However, you can use the advanced search feature on the Essential Level Edition and, of course, as well as the Professional Level Edition to tell the computer that you want the computer to identify grant makers who are capable of giving grants that begin at $100,000. Now, conversely, your boss might say to you, we're definitely, looking for grant makers who can cut us checks $2,000, $5,000, $10,000. So, some of your searches, you might be using the slider bar called grant amount. You might be setting that to identify funders who are cutting the smaller size checks in the $0 to $10,000 range. So, again, what you're going to need to do a better job narrowing those searches before you start reading, check out some of the advanced search features. They can be very useful to you. So I think at this point, we have a good sense of what Foundation Directory Online is. It's more than just a database. It's a research tool. It's a database application because it's allowing you to do a very, very deep dive into the grants paid out by these funders. Biggest tip ever here, before you dive into the database, I did recommend that you take a look at those YouTube videos on the Foundation Directory Online YouTube channel. But I also like to recommend that you, pull out a golf pencil or, pull out your laptop and actually have a conversation with your other managers. Identify your foundation funding needs before you begin searching. If you know what you're looking for, your searches will go much more efficiently. We're going to recommend that if you're brand new to fundraising research, you start looking for prospects based on a project or a program that you are running. Program development, project development, those are the more popular types of grants that many foundations are willing to give. You also have to remember to do the reading and evaluate if these prospects are a good fit for your needs. So, along those lines, please remember that when you're using the Essential Level Edition as well as the Professional Level Edition, we have built in that feature, the assessment tool, to help the beginners in the group evaluate those prospects. There are many, many options for identifying and accessing Foundation Directory Online. Today, we're focusing on the Tysons-Pymont regional branch of the Fairfax County Public Library System. But truth of the matter is, we have nearly 400 funding information network partners in the United States. Some of them are actually outside of our borders. Each of those partners is providing its local public with remote access to Foundation Directory Online Essential. So if we are not in Fairfax County, Virginia today, chances are you're close enough to one of our partners. So when you are reading through the profiles, ask yourself 5 questions. Do I meet the funder's requirements? Is your mission or your project a priority for this funder? How big are the grants that the funder pays out? Does this funder provide the support that you're looking for? Does this funder support nonprofits just like yours? And always the classic, do I know anybody at that private foundation? If your board knows somebody, if you can get somebody in the field to introduce you to their program officers, getting those introductions goes a lot quicker, which, by the way, is why we have an ongoing project to review all of the board members in those profiles, as well as the foundation employees. And we're beginning to connect names to LinkedIn accounts. Just that makes it easier for you to figure out if somebody in your LinkedIn community can introduce you to somebody at those foundations. So, we're hoping, it's like the end of the first quarter of 2021. We're hoping by now at this point in the year, you've actually been searching for funders to approach in 2021 for grants. Some of you search online for them. Some of you are really good at signing up for newsletters that provide you with these RFPs. RFP is an acronym for Request for Proposals. This is a situation where a foundation will put together a formal request for proposals and publicize it widely so they get a better applicant tool. Getting back to candid.org, when you are on candid.org, please click on Candid at a Glance and look at Philanthropy News Digest. Philanthropy News Digest is our news service where we summarize articles in philanthropy. There is a special section in the Philanthropy News Digest newsletter that focuses on requests for proposals. And you can actually sign up for that as its own special email to get from us. Some of you are searching guidestar.org. We talked about guidestar.org earlier as being the go-to tool that you use as a nonprofit manager to tell your story. So again, you have to claim your profile on guidestar.org and begin updating it yourself. I would recommend, I think it's much more efficient to find funders who are going to actually fund you. It's much more efficient to use Foundation Directory Online, either the Essential Level Edition or the Professional Level Edition, to find funders. And in the old days, which was a long time ago, many of you would go directly to the tax returns of private foundations because we know on their IRS annual returns, which are called IRS annual returns or 990 PFs, PF standing for private foundations, we know that legally those tax returns are public documents. And if you're looking at a tax return of a foundation, it does have to list every single grant they paid out and describe them. You don't need to do that these days because you're working with database application tools. So again, Foundation Directory Online this month, it's up to 235,000 active funders. It's going to be much larger by the end of June of this year. There are over 2 million recipients of grants who are also described in the Professional Level Edition. And we add about 4 million grants to this system annually. It does provide you with the ability to search through detailed profiles of funders, grant descriptions, recipients, and does include the corporate giving. We update it daily, 7 days a week. There are over 30 different information sources that we use to create these grant maker profiles and to fill in the gap between when we get a tax return from the IRS. We do have a growing number of grant makers who will report their grants to us directly. So that does help to allow us to have more 2020 and 2021 grants in these systems. Again, the Professional Level Edition does have federal agency grants in it because it's the federal government that has much more funding available to nonprofits than the private philanthropic community. The Essential Level Edition does not do a good job with federal grants. You do have to be working with the Professional Level Edition to get a comprehensive look at that. So when you're using the databases, if we had to like really quickly summarize how to tell the computer what you need money for, think about population groups. If this applies to your work, who are you serving population group wise? Am I working for like a church, synagogue, or mosque that needs a wheelchair ramp put in? Then I'm going to go to population group served and find my religious denomination. Am I serving seniors or elderly people? Am I serving children and youth? Am I serving economically disadvantaged or at-risk youth? Am I serving immigrants? So there is a myriad of ways that we can describe the population groups we serve, and that is a major advanced search feature. Where are they is probably the heaviest used search feature in Foundation Directory Online. This translates to where is the work being done? That translates to the phrase geographic focus in the advanced search feature. So geographic focus means where in the world is the work taking place? And you can drill down to your city, town, or village, or you can build up to your county or your congressional district or your state. You can even try a regional approach. But whatever you select when you are using geographic focus, that is instructing the software to literally look at all of the grants paid out and find you funders who have invested within the geographic boundaries that you just described to the system. Even if a grant maker only paid out one grant within that city, town, or village, or congressional district, or state, or region, or county, or city that you popped in to the geographic focus box, the software will pull up the funders. So there's a back-end search that's happening when you use geographic focus or any of the other search mechanisms. Now, what are you doing from them? Can you translate that into the subject of your search, the type of support you're looking for if you have to use keyword? And by the way, in the beginning, you'll probably use the open-ended search box where you just take a sentence and tell the computer what you need money for. At one point, you are doing a lot of reading. For the day pass system, because it's only 24 hours, I always, again, recommend that you download or email yourself the full profiles so you have time to read them with a cup of tea, take your time sifting through those profiles. Are you eligible for a grant from that funder? Is your mission compatible with the giving priorities that the funder has stated in their profile? How big are the grants? What's the average grant size that that funder pays out? These products will actually give you trend charts, which might appear to you as infographics or visualizations. But when you're reading those profiles, one of the first things you see are trend charts where we've already analyzed the last 5 years of grants that a funder paid out, and it makes it very easy for you to determine how many of their grants in the last 5 years were in the $0 to $5,000 range. How many of their grants in the last 5 years began at $500,000? So those and also the visualizations will tell you the top subjects they funded in the last 5 years, as well as where did their money go in the United States or in the world in the last 5 years. How many grants have they actually put into Fairfax County? How many grants have they put into Virginia versus the state of Maryland? Those visualization tools are great visualizations to use to quickly get a sense of what's happening with the grants. Now, does this funder support organizations like yours? You always want to be asking yourself that. And do you know anybody at the foundation? That's why we have like the who's who field that tells you who's the trustees and who the trustees and officers are. It also tells you in many instances who the employees are. So, if you had a project-based search, you'd probably start out using the open-ended search box, which simply says, describe what you were trying to fund. And in this case, the person typed in Healthy After-School Program for Low-Income Children in Atlanta, Georgia. They've got a geographic area, so they're instructing the software to go through every single grant that went into Atlanta, Georgia for this particular population group, low-income children, and they're letting the software interpret what the software thinks you mean by health after school program. So they're going to click search. I would recommend you use several different sentences to describe what you're trying to fund. Look at those lists of grant makers that will appear to you, and you will begin to see the same grant makers pop up over and over again. Quick way to get to the advanced search features, by the way, is to just start clicking right here where it says advanced search and filters. Let those boxes guide you through the advanced searches. So when let's say here you've clicked search, the next screen you're going to see, now this is a little bit edited. Normally I would see the list of grant makers at the bottom of the screen. But what oftentimes will happen is the software will also tell you how it's interpreting your sentence in the advanced search features. So it's saying it thinks I'm talking about child welfare, out of school learning, health, and it definitely has the geographic region as well as the country identified for you. If you decide we don't want child welfare in this search results list, just click on that little X, it will disappear. It's also showing you how part of the advanced search and filters is interpreting the search. So it's looking at the subject of your topic as grant makers who pay out for child welfare, out of school learning. Oh, good. It included health. And you can use this Boolean search operator. It says match any of these terms right now, but if you want them all matched in the foundation profile, you'll click on that little downward blue arrow key, and it will change to match all. Geographic focus, again, this is the most popular way to use the advanced search features. You always want to know where the work is being conducted. I can add a population group served here if I wanted to. I'm going to leave it blank and just click search. So again, what you'll end up with is a list. You can click view all and view the list 100 at a time. These columns are sortable. Assets and total giving, that comes from funders' last tax returns. When you see 0, as I see on the screen in front of me, I look at who the grant maker is. In this case, it's a federal agency. They don't have total assets and total giving, but foundations do. Amount funded, that is literally the software. This is the best column ever here because the software does the math for you. This particular search just tallied up all of the grants that the Community Foundation for the Greater Atlanta area put into Atlanta for child welfare, out-of-school learning, and health. It's also telling me that the larger funder is a federal agency, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and this is how much money they put into Atlanta, Georgia for those topics. And it gives you the grant count, meaning you take $295 million and divide it by 3,552 grants. This probably is too many prospects for my comfort level, so I would start drilling down from this point. Now, when you're inside of the Fairfax County Public Libraries, you will have access to those grant descriptions, and there's over 30,000 grants paid out with descriptions. You're going to have access to the descriptions of the recipients of these grants. When you're at home during COVID, the Essential Level Edition, the day passes, don't provide you with the grant descriptions or the recipients, but you do have access to the full tax returns here. And there may be an occasion when you're using Essential where you have to pull a tax return and take a look at the grants list. Again, if you've never done that before, our online librarian can walk you through it. So, these are lists. I'm recommending that you click on full profiles, or actually you pick them 10 at a time. There's little boxes to pick. Then you're going to download them, download the 10 profiles that you want. It'll download in groups of 10 because you do have to find a way to be efficient with the 24-hour day passes. So, presumably as you're reading through this, something is going to catch your eye. Click on the blue writing where it says grant maker, and the full profile will open up on your software. There's a menu that you can click on, these menu options that walk you through it. Do remember, okay, if you don't know anything about the funder, you'll probably start with About to read a little bit about them and to look at their program areas. Funding interests tell you what their funding priorities are. They also tell you where in the world and where in the US they put their money and what population groups they invest in. But this is really key. Applications, requests for proposals, are there any current RFPs out, and what are their giving limitations? So you always want to make sure you have read through the application part of each of these grant maker profiles to figure out how to apply. You're going to figure out if they have any current RFPs because the software will tell you. And, if we're looking at the finer details here, I do like to remind people to look at the giving limitations. This is where the grant maker tells you what they don't fund. And it could also be referred to as the fine print. What are they not going to fund? That will be here in this application and giving limitation area. Other funders to consider, that is called Predict Technology. Based on the search that you set up, the software will try to find you other prospects based on a similar pattern of giving. So as we get better at Predict Technology, more and more of the other funders that the software is trying to feed you in this area will tend to be your A and B plus list of prospects. So, but again, the software tries to find them for you based on whatever search you popped into the system. This is a quick screenshot of what those trend charts looks like, the data visualization trend charts. So for each profile, it will tell you what the last 5 years of grants were all about. What did they fund? Looks like health and international relations were the top 2 topics. Where did they put their money? Okay, a lot of their money went to New York, a lot went to California, some went to Florida. How big are the grants? So in this particular funder's case, very few of their grants are in the $0 to $10,000 range in the last 5 years. More of their grants tend to be $100K to $500K and $1 million and above. So even before I look at their assets and total given, I'm going to guess if many of their grants were $1 million and above in the last 5 years, they've got some fabulous assets to give away. Okay, it's this, Bill and Melinda Gates. They've got a website, and here is the assessment tool. Is this a good prospect? Assess this grant maker. So again, as you read profiles, if reading through them is not resonating with you, do take the assessment. It will walk you through the steps of assessing whether or not this particular funder is a good fit for your organization. Quick tip, when you're reading through the About Us areas and you happen to see there's a number next to the words program areas, take the time to click on that arrow key and sift through the program areas. That means this funder has formal programs set up to fund specific issues. And you'll always want to be asking yourself, does my nonprofit fit into one of these program areas? That will help you figure out if they're a good prospect, particularly after you've gone through the application. How do I apply to them for a grant? And many funders will be very, very specific in their application process. Communications is also here. For those of you who are really good with social media, this is going to tell you how the foundation communicates with the rest of the world through the use of social media. So this, to me, as a researcher, is a gold mine of resources that I can check out to help me figure out how to make the approach to Bill and Melinda Gates, because they're on all of these platforms. And, I might even, if I'm really savvy, figure out how to use one of these platforms to get my foot in the door. Okay, back to the beginning, your landing page, the open-ended box, search box, describe what you're trying to fund. In the beginning, this is where we will also want you to concentrate your time. Take a look at the examples we give here: ballet school in New York City, animal shelter in Portland, Maine, food pantry in Dallas. Always remember to include a geographic focus or area where the work is being done when you are describing what you are trying to fund, because that's going to push the software to find you grant makers who've actually invested in your subject area within those geographic boundaries that you're setting up here. You can search by organization name. That requires a couple of different clicks. Pop the name in real quickly there. Then pick, it's probably in all probability grant makers that you're looking for. Take a look at your list. Click View Organization Profile to actually pull up the full profile. So numerous ways to sift through this system. Quick reminder, this product has its own YouTube channel. And one of our Funding Information Network partners put together a pretty good YouTube video called Searching FDO Essential. I would, suggest that you try to find that one there. Again, when you're on the Tysons-Pennant Regional Library GRTC page, they also have a link to a good video there. So, quick recap, you can go to your Funding Information Network library and use Foundation Directory Online Professional, as well as Grants to Individuals Online. Some of our partners also have our mapping tool called Foundation Maps. Our library partners, our community foundation partners, the nonprofit resource centers who work with us are during COVID, and this is COVID year 2. So our partners have been providing you with free access remotely to Foundation Directory Online Essential for over a year now. Our partners do provide you with a remote way to access our products. We have nearly 400 of them. I'm always happy as a candid employee when you pull out a credit card and subscribe to something from us. But if you want to learn more about the subscription fees, you can go to fdo.org. But no need to subscribe to it in the beginning. If you learn how to use the free versions of FDO Professional, as well as take advantage of the remote version to Foundation Directory Online Essential. And again, between your monthly day passes, you're going to be using FDO Quick Start. So we have many self-serve resources you can use to get help with Foundation Directory Online. And always stay in touch with your favorite libraries, because the library staff can help you do these searches. The library staff can help you interpret results. We have many Funding Information Network partners who are actually doing concierge searches for their communities during this time of COVID. Getting back to Candid, we do have a fantastic online library team at Candid who is available to chat with you or email with you in terms of your, how do I use the database? How do I do a better search? Or any other fundraising question you might have. So there is a tremendous amount of one-on-one assistance that you can get using this product, even in this virtual environment. So I'm going to quickly stop my screen share. I just want to quickly check the questions. And we're going to, we have a little bit of time here. Let me just minimize that. I'm going to share my screen and want to quickly find for you the link I had. Okay, so are we looking at a Foundation Directory Online Essential screen, a website right now where it says day pass time remaining, 18 hours and 48 minutes. Hopefully I've shared my screen correctly. So this is the day pass that Crystal set up today, because it expires tomorrow, April 28th at 10:15 a.m. Here's the open-ended search bar, find funding, where you're just going to describe what you need money for. By the way, I'm on the day pass system now, and it is reminding me here, only one 24-hour trial courtesy of your library per month. To reactivate your trial next month, go back to, or visit your library's webpage and repeat the registration process. So we do want you to be using your favorite public libraries' web resources, their website. And you know, when the world is safer, we want you to be back inside the public library system, actually working with the team on site with your searches. So find funding, food banks in Fairfax County, Virginia. Okay, so that was a really simple search. I went to the county level, typed in food banks in Fairfax County, Virginia. The software is telling me it's looking for grants for food banks. It's got the geography correct, and it's doing my thinking for me. It also thinks I'm talking about low-income people. If I don't want this population group in the search, I can just click that box. It will disappear. See, kind of disappeared from the search results. I can add it back in by using population served. And it's actually showing me all of the advanced search features now. Now, I'm down to 12, but we're going to use that. And this is called a slider bar. We're instructing the computer to only search through these 12 grant makers if they've given a grant since 2015 for food banks in Fairfax County, Virginia. You know, almost 12 is easy enough to read through, but hey, look what happened. It narrowed me down to 8. So, you know, 8's okay. I'm going to click view all. It'll show me the first 100. You know, it doesn't really matter because there's only 8 here. But now I'm going to click amount funded because I want to see out of these 8 grant makers who funded food banks within Fairfax County, Virginia, I want to see who put the most amount of money in. So I clicked amount funded, and a group in Minnesota, Super Value Foundation. That may be a corporation. I'm not quite sure what that company does. I'm thinking food stores, but they paid out 1 grant totaling $150,000. TD Charitable, $45,000, 2 grants into Fairfax County for food banks. The Plains, they're located in the Plains, Virginia. 4 grants totaling $25,000. And so these grant makers some are in Virginia, some are not, but they are listed in your search because they did put a grant from 2015 to 2021 into one or more food banks in Fairfax County, Virginia. If I open up Super Value, by the way, I'm going to email it to myself or click here to download it. They're in Minnesota. I'm going to suspect they're like a corporate funder. Do I know anybody there? If I know a lot of people, I usually click, you know, maybe I know one of their 60 donors. Probably don't. I'm going to go back up to the top of that profile. Quick contact. Is this a good prospect? I can start to assess it right now. Here are the trend charts. So last 5 years, 239 grants paid out to 189 organizations, totaling 3.5 mil. Let me see this Florida. I'm looking for the state. Yeah, Virginia. So last 5 years, now they're headquartered in Minnesota. But last 5 years, 10 recipients in Virginia, 11 grants. Total amount funded nearly $400,000. Looks like most of their grants are small in the 0 to 5,000 range, but hey, 54 of their grants were in the 10K to 25 range. So, this is helping me kind of figure out how much to expect from them. Now, I did type in food banks in Fairfax County, Virginia. So top subject they funded was human services, followed by health, followed by philanthropy. What do they fund? I'm just going to open that up. Their funding interests, food aid, food banks. Okay, this is good. Food banks was great. Food aid is going to help me as well. Basic and emergency aid is going to help me as well. Some of these other fields of interest or subjects may help me. Now, I don't see the state of Virginia here as being one of their super values stated geographic focuses, but I certainly see Virginia here on the last 5 years of where their grant money went. So that helps me not get nervous about this statement. Some of the food banks, this is good because if I'm using food banks, I have an income flow issue, and children and youth is also good there. So these are the support strategies, super value employees. That's fantastic that they do general operating support. They also do employee matching gifts. Now, as I read through this, if I didn't want to keep going up and down using the bar there, I could click through the menu options on the left-hand side. But I thought they were corporate. This is definitely telling me maybe we're looking at corporate here because it says affiliated company. I can click on Super Value Inc. to see exactly what they do. Okay, now I did type in food bank. This is great that their purpose and activities is hunger relief, dietary health and nutrition. So I'm getting a little excited about finding out more about them. Program areas. Does my Virginia food bank fit into one of these program areas? Other funders to consider. Now, these funders are not in Virginia, but I'm looking at 3M might have offices in the Virginia area. How do I apply to super value? It's instructing me right here. Financials got their tax returns going back there. I can always pull their tax return to see if the grants list is in it. Who's who? There's 60 donors to them. This is interesting. They are definitely a corporate with their own group of donors as opposed to the board members. Communications, great. We have some Philanthropy News Digest stories that were picked up here. Quick contact. So multiple searches will always get you better results. Going back to the find funding page, try a couple of different sentences when you are using that open-ended search box. Describe what you need money for. Couple of different sentences, multiple searches here. If you're a little more advanced, be brave. Take a look at all of these advanced search features. Now, Rich had a question earlier about donor advised funds. That's an organization type. Let's see, Rich, should I click Giving Circle? Donor advised funds is probably going to come under this phrase, charitable gift funds. Instead of going broad and saying charitable gift funds, I'm going to go real narrow and try to limit the search to donor advised funds. And, oh, look, a little reminder, I can go in by congressional district. Right now, I'm going to say geographic focus, maybe just people with disabilities, people with diseases and illnesses. Let's just see what we get. I won't use the slider bars. Let us see what it finds going back to 2003. 13 grant makers. Now, these grant makers are more likely to have provided. They're identified by the back-end software because I'm looking at my search results. Donor advised funds as a grant maker. So these 13 grant makers are offering donor advised funds under their umbrella. Now, a lot of our community foundations do have donor advised funds unit, 597 grants going into the state of Virginia for this topic, $11 million. And there's 2 current RFPs out for this particular funder. Great. But what I don't see on this list are the main groups, the more popular, the larger donor advised fund purveyors. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here, what if you're narrowing it down to just corporates? You're going to have to go through your searches and just pick the corporates. By the way, some of you might just want the family foundations. They're right there as a search. But I'm going to pick company-sponsored foundations and corporate giving programs. I think I kept, for Virginia, I took away the people with disabilities, but it looks like the state of Virginia, it found over 1,000 corporate entities. And we can go, okay, here's where I might get 0. If I get 0 when I pick a much smaller community for corporate support, Falls Church, I'm not even going to add a subject or a population group at this point. I just want to get a sense of how many corporate prospects the system is finding who have granted nonprofits recipients within the geographic boundaries of Falls Church. 126, not bad. I'm happy enough at this point to begin filling out the rest of those advanced search features. So to your point, the person who asks a great question, how do I kind of not read through whatever, 200, how do we narrow it down? Using the advanced search features is a great way to keep narrowing it down, because now I have 38 grant makers who are corporates, corporate giving programs or company-sponsored foundations who have invested in the much smaller geographic area of Falls Church, Virginia, for children and youth. And again, I'm going to pay attention to amount funded, because this tells me who put the most amount of money in. ExxonMobil, 15 grants. Who put the most amount of grants into Falls Church? Amazon Smile. But the amount is much smaller. So these are well-known corporates on that list there. And then you've got some tax, so CarMax is there. All right, so again, when you're looking at that screen, upper right-hand corner, it says chat. You can click that, particularly if it's Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. Eastern Time to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. You can chat with one of our online librarians. So upper right-hand corner, chat. Lower right-hand corner, it's going to say chat with an expert. That's one way to get some help directly from us. If it's 6 o'clock tonight and you're using it, the ubiquitous online form opens up, and just tell us your question. We'll get in the work the next day and start responding to them. So, wow, I've gone 10 minutes over. Sorry. Let's see, wait, Ooh, okay, Deb's got a great question. The first about finding and using data on interlocking board memberships. The other question was about obligations for grantors to release grant information. Okay, so obligations for grantors, the grant makers, to release grant information and whether they vary by state. If you are representing a private foundation, by all means, that you're a nonprofit organization and your tax return is a public document. Within the tax returns of private foundations, by law, the public side of that return has to include their grants list. So you can always pull a tax return, which is called an IRS annual return or a 990 PF, to read through a complete list of grants that the funder paid out. It's a public document, and that does not vary from state to state. It's going to happen if you're dealing with a private foundation. There are other types of grant makers in our database who will have publicly available returns, but they don't have to release to the public within their publicly available returns the list of grants. In those cases, we go to their websites to see if they're talking about their grants on their websites, or they have a grant maker database that they posted to the website, or they've, perhaps they've given us their grants directly here at Candid. Interlocking board memberships. Not quite sure what that is specifically talking about, but if you know somebody on a foundation board, it's easier to get your foot in the door for sure. If you have somebody like another development director of a nonprofit locally to you, can introduce you to their board members. That's a great way to get an introduction, getting somebody to give you an introduction to a board member. Board-to-board connections, very important, but you can also get people you know to introduce you to board members. If it's a large foundation, chances are they have employees like program officers or directors of programs specifically run by the foundation. See if you can get somebody to connect you to that staff. Now, the list of search results, so one question is, are these suggested other funders already in your list of search results, or is the algorithm reaching beyond those criteria and augmenting the results? I want to say the answer is yes or no. I believe, Deb, you may be referring to the Predict technology we use as you're reading through the grantmaker profile, this area that says other funders to consider. Those will be pulled out for you in a separate box because the back-end software is looking at patterns of giving. It's also looking at the search strategy that you typed in, and it is attempting to feed you additional prospects. But I said yes or no because, it's possible one of the prospects that the Predict technology finds from you, will be on your vertical list of grant makers that you find in your results list. Okay, will the search tool be able to utilize general conceptual areas such as health disparities or income inequality or even poverty, the word poverty? Absolutely. Use the open-ended search box under the phrase, describe what you are looking for. Basically use a sentence. Use the phrase health disparity in that sentence. Use the phrase income inequality in that sentence. Let the software attempt to analyze what you've typed in. So there may be multiple ways to say health disparities in that open-ended sentence. You, of course, in the beginning, when you're using advanced search features, remember the subject area, the A to Z list that foundations fund. You can, go through that area and see if the phrase health disparity shows up. Definitely, health is definitely classified by us, but you can search through the subject area to see if health disparity is used up. Now, there is also, in the advanced search features, there is a keyword box, and that might be a great place to put the word disparity, singular or plural, or inequality, just to see how that tweaks your search. Multiple searches will always get you better results. Okay, great. Were there other questions? Rich and Mary, thank you for joining us. I know that you mentioned that you had visited our New York library many years ago. Yes, okay, so I think I've gotten to many of the questions. Sorry, I went 10 minutes over. This is a fascinating topic, and we just hit the tip of the iceberg today. We're going to stay in touch with Vladimir. We can do other classes for you. We can spend more time on guidestar.org. We can do a deeper dive into Foundation Directory Online. We could spend 90 minutes just talking about corporate grants or proposal writing. But do stay in touch with Vladimir and the team at the Tysons Piment Regional Library, to let them know what types of workshops are more suitable for you during this time of COVID. And again, I'm going to send Vladimir the handout. So give him, probably takes him maybe a day or so to get the handouts to you. And I believe you have Vladimir's email, but if not, my email and Vladimir's email are contained within the slide deck. Easy enough to get in touch with us.
Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you all for who attended. We're recording this program, and we'll post the recording on the library's YouTube channel. One more thing, our next program with Susan Shiroma as well will be Introduction to Corporate Giving, and it's going to be on the May 25th. I'll send a link to register to all who are interested. So thanks again, Susan, and hope to see you in a month with us. And again, we're recording this program and we'll post it on library YouTube channel. Thanks so much.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Have a good month. I'll see you on May 25th from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Vladimir, for hosting us and for being such a great partner in Fairfax County, Virginia. Good luck, everybody. Stay safe. Keep the questions coming in to us about how to get better search results from Foundation Directory Online.
Thank you, Susan. Bye-bye.